The first Americans. A long time ago, North America was very different from the way it is today. There were no highways, cars, or cities. There were no schools, malls, or restaurants. But even long ago, there were still communities. A community is where a group of people work, live, and have fun together. People made their own homes, food, and clothing from the plants and animals they found around them. The first Americans came from Asia. These were the first people to live in North America. That is why we call them Native Americans. These people lived in North America for thousands of years, and there are still Indian communities today. Many different Indian groups lived in North America. Each group had its own language and customs. A custom is the way a group of people does something. Several groups of Indians often shared the same culture. A culture is the way of life of a group of people. Every group of people, including yours, has a culture. The language you speak, the clothes you wear, and the food you eat, and the religion you believe in are all part of your culture. Indian groups that share the same culture had the same way of finding food and building houses. They depended on the same natural resources and used them in the same way. For example, the Plains Indians shared the same land, dressed the same way, spoke the same language, and hunted for food and practiced religion in the same way. This is a photograph of the Native American tradition of storytelling to pass down stories from their people. Indian homes. Each culture area had their own type of home. Indians used the natural resources around them to make their homes. Natural resources are the things found in nature that people use. For instance, if they live in or near the forest, they would use wood for their homes. The Indians of the California Intermountain culture lived in wigwams, which are circular homes of arched poles covered with brush and mat. This type of home was used for a short time when the Indians were hunting. The Indians of the Southwest culture lived in pueblos, which are apartment-style buildings. These buildings were made of adobe clay and vegetable dried in sun. This type of home was especially good for the areas that had very little rainfall and a hot desert climate. Many families lived in each apartment. As families grew, rooms were added to the top of the rooms that were already there. That's a pueblo. The teepee was the home of the Plains Indian. The frame of the teepee was made of long wooden poles pointed together and fastened at the top. This was covered with a tent of animal skins which fastened to the ground. The Plains Indians would have a fireplace inside the teepee. This form of home could quickly be taken down when the Plains Indians moved to follow buffalo. The homes of the Eastern Woodland Indians were called longhouses. Like the homes of the Northwest culture, these were rectangular homes with barrel-shaped roofs. As their name states, these homes were very long. The outside of these homes were made of wooden frames with tree bark sewn together to cover them. Families shared these homes also. The insides had a long hallway with rooms for each family on each side. There were low platforms for the families to sleep on, and the higher platforms for storing goods, baskets, and pelts. The internet is a great source of information for more knowledge on the first Americans. Thank you for listening.